hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of mythology, but also history, and it's all going to be in relation to this bad boy, or girl. Actually, I think she's a bad girl. Wait. Anyway, it is a work day here at headquarters. Say hello to Kindwin.
Hello.
She is lovingly packing your orders while I talk about our jewelry, I guess. Yeah, so we have just launched the Lilith sword, okay? So I'm going to tell you about Lilith and the inspiration behind this piece. If you would like to know about this, then stick around. Cue the music. This video today is sponsored by none other than me. Just kidding, it's sponsored by Caesar Archivum, which is also my business, which I guess is me. I don't have sponsors, so anyway, but I would love to keep it sponsor free. Maybe not, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I would love it if you could subscribe because that actually impacts me a lot, like really, like heaps. Let's get into it. First of all, let's go back to the beginning. In the beginning, the Hebrew Bible. We're going back to Genesis, right? Which, for those of you who are not aware, the Abrahamic religions, which is Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, all have something in common, being that they share the Abrahamic part of the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Bible, or the I'm not sure what it's called. Point is, in the Hebrew Bible, there's actually two versions of the Garden of Eden tale. So, in modern times in Christianity, you probably know the tale of Adam and Eve, where they're in the Garden of Eden, God makes a tree, says don't eat the fruit, then Eve eats the fruit, and then convinces Adam to eat the fruit, and therefore they get kicked out of the garden and they make babies. That's potentially the version that you may know. Fun story is that there's actually two versions. The second version, no, not virgin, the second version in the Bible basically goes as follows. God created both men and women simultaneously. This is the second version because in the first version with Eve, God created Eve from Adam's rib. Okay, so in this other version, women and men were created equal at the same time, so that they could pair like other animals that God had created. Now, this is in Genesis chapter 1, 127 in, I believe, the Hebrew Bible. You're not going to find this in an English translated Bible, I don't believe, unless it's been translated from like Aramaic or something. Anyway, basically, the first woman who was created with Adam was known as Lilith. Now, the way that the world has viewed Lilith has changed, obviously. In recent times, she has been viewed more as a figure of independence and like female empowerment, but for a very, very long time in history she was seen as a demon, and I'll tell you why. Unlike Eve's story, Lilith was a strongly independent and very intelligent woman. She completely rebelled against Adam. She was meant to be subservient and deferential to Adam and just let him like just do whatever he said, but she wouldn't. She was like, absolutely not, stuff you kind of thing. And so basically God apparently had intended for Lilith to be of a status lower than Adam, and intended for Lilith to yield to him, and she just flat out wouldn't do it. So she was not only knew what she wanted, but she was not afraid to assert her wants to. So she was like, absolutely not gonna happen. And when Adam tried to, I guess, procreate with her, she refused to lay under him. She wouldn't lay under him. So anyway, naturally, Adam got really mad, and so did the god of this tale, and threw her out of the Garden of Eden, and went on to make him a more obedient wife, Eve. So that's kind of where that's kind of like the basis of the story. But then like obviously she becomes this figure, and so we'll get into that. So I did obviously start all of this on like the Bible being the backstory, but I just wanted to also mention that she was also a Mesopotamian figure of worship, as well as the Judaic mythology as well. So basically when she got kicked out, she was a primordial she-demon. I'm going to put a depiction of Lilith here. You can see the snake that's intertwining her. This is obviously to do with the serpent ideology of the serpent being Satan in the Garden of Eden. On the Mesopotamian front, Lilith stems from the name Lilatu, which is the Akkadian word, which is obviously, you know, a part of the Hebrew background for Lilith. And it's thought to be a meaning like a modern night bird, which is what some scholars have kind of like brought the meaning of her name to be. A night bird that's found in the ancient Mesopotamian area. But basically, outside of this bird hypothesis, Lilith signifies either a spirit or a demon in most ancient cultures. Now, she continues to serve as source material in pop culture, Western culture, literature, fantasy, and horror. Now, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, she is mentioned, which was a massive cuneiform tablet that dated back to 600 BCE, and basically later turned into the Sumerian Epic of the Gilgamesh. So as much as the story I told from the Old Testament is probably the most like easy to tell, it's very much a Mesopotamian, she's a Mesopotamian gal. Here I will post the Bernie relief, which is the Babylonian depiction of Lilith. In this depiction that she has talons as feet, which, you know, is an ode to the bird thing. And she's holding some sacred items and has wings, etc., etc. Now, she was even available. She's featured in a lot of different mythologies and religions. So, like I mentioned, Hebrew Bible, there was a Greek word for her, which was diamonia, which is a demon. The Latin Bible, the English versions of the Bible, of course. Then we've got the Jewish traditions, and we've even got the Dead Sea Scrolls that mention Lilith. We've got the early Rabbinic literature that mentions her. Incantation bowls from Mesopotamia mention her. The alphabet of Ben Sira mentions it. So anyway, you get the point. Lilith is a pretty important figure. The Greco-Roman mythology, she is mentioned as Lamia. So according to this tradition, some learned men have thought they discovered some vestige of vampirism, like vampires, in the remotest antiquity. And basically they like stitch her and vampirism together. There's a little bit of crossover in the Arabic culture with the occult writer Ahmed al-Buni. But not heaps. There's a lot in German literature of her. Anyway, skipping forward into the modern day, Lilith is now known as the Queen of Swords. Hence why we have a sword. Yeah. So, on our sword we have droplets of blood. We've picked a pink stone to give ode to Lilith herself, but it really is a depiction of those teardrops are droplets of blood. So the reason we've done this is in today's tarot world, there is a Queen of Swords that's in a tarot deck. And the Queen of Swords in tarot is intelligent like the rest of her counterparts, but she has an extremely sharp wit. And typically she's depicted as somebody who is either divorced or widowed. But the Queen of Swords is the single woman of the tarot deck. So she is single, assertive, self-assured, confident. And this is evident from her origin stories. So, pulling all of that together, the dignified status of the Queen of Swords, the sword representation, having a brilliant mind, and being so logical as Lilith was in even something like the Garden of Eden. She just would not submit. She knew she was better than that. And so that's what we wanted to depict. That's what the meaning is behind that piece, the Lilith sword. The other little interesting tidbit is I have a friend, Lily, who basically embodies what I believe would have been a Lilith personality. So when wearing that piece, you are, I guess, embodying wisdom, wit, assertiveness, and it's a little bit Barbie-core. That's where my friend Lily comes in, because she has a company called Barbie-core. So that, my friends, is the brief history of Lilith, the other Eve, that's hardly ever talked about these days. And that's the meaning behind the Lilith sword on CaesarArchivum.com. You can purchase off at the link below. And if you have any questions, let me know. I would love to answer them on this YouTube, on this platform. Please subscribe. I really would love it if you could subscribe. See you next time. Bye.